Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here today with one of our fresh starts experts, and I'm sure we're going to do some laughing today because she is quite a funny person. But we're going to be talking about something that's super important and I feel like not talked about. And I have personal experience in my own divorce with this issue. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and then we're going to jump in. So Vicki, what do you do?
Hi, Olivia. Hi, everyone. My name's Vicki Vollweiler, and I'm the founder of College Financial Prep. And primarily, I'm helping parents, usually separated parents, divorced parents, remarried parents, plan for college for their children. A long time ago, true story, a long time ago, I was working as a divorce coach, and I was only helping people with their personal finances. And I remember clients were starting to say to me, now, how am I going to be able to afford to send my kids to college? And that's so true for, so many of us. I'm a divorced parent too. I get it. So yeah, that's how College Financial Prep was born. And I help people reduce their financial stress, reduce their emotional stress. Really, this is like the one area of divorce that can potentially be a win-win for both parents because both parents are potentially saving lots of money on the cost of college.
Okay, so generally speaking, what does college planning and divorce have to do with each other, Vicki?
So a lot of people, once they start to get in the thick of it, I don't know who's heard of the FAFSA form. It's the free application for federal student aid. Well, really, only one household needs to complete it, not both parents. So if both parents are living on their own separate households, which parent is now filing that form? And that's a big thing to consider. Also, say you have little children or whatever age, they're not in college yet. And you're going through a divorce or a mediation. So something important to know is that some colleges, not every college, but some colleges will require both parents' information. And what if the other parent doesn't want to participate? It's important to include that in your doc that at least both parents will participate in providing, financial information to the colleges. Because you know what? If the other parent doesn't, then the child may get nothing in financial aid. So, you don't want to hurt yourself. Make sure you're covered if you can in the divorce agreements. Let me just say this. Every single state is different. So, you need to speak with your attorneys and mediators in your own state. But if you think your child is going to go to college, definitely push for it.
I mean, yes, everybody should talk to their mediators and lawyers, but often, you don't even know what to ask when you go in, right, to talk about this stuff. And, I know when I was going through mediation, my boys were 3 and 5, and the mediator put into the stipulation about paying for college that it was going to be 50-50 and the caps, on certain
cap.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, that's a New York thing. New York has a cap.
Oh, I didn't know that was
has a Connecticut cap. So, some states have that.
Okay. And so, because the kids were so little and everybody wanted the divorce to be over, the other team decided to remove the college from the stipulation, and then they said that I could go back someday, right? Which now my son is 13, and now I'm going to have to do this again. So, I think and I didn't even think about it, right, when I was going into this. So what are some of the things people really should consider? Let's just start back, when you're going through a divorce, right? And let's say your kids are 5 and 7.
So it doesn't even matter what age. The kids can be little. I mean, you could have, toddlers You can have kids in junior high school. Um, if you're planning for college, no matter what the age, bare minimum, I would suggest at least put in language that both parents are going to participate in sending information to the colleges. That does not obligate the other person to pay anything.
Mm,
Um, Even though I'm sure plenty of people would like to obligate the other person, but
yeah.
at least, make sure that they're willing to participate in financial aid purposes so that way your child can get if you qualify. That's bare minimum. Olivia, to your point, which is so, so, so common that divorce is in the agreement.
Uh-huh.
Um, I know plenty of people say, oh, you could go back later. The problem with going back later, um, so the way college planning works, let me give you a little timeline from the future for
Yeah.
senior year of high school.
Yeah.
So senior year, the kids are applying to college. You're filling out the financial aid applications in the fall. Typically, like winter, spring, you're hearing back from the colleges. Middle of March, that's when you're going to find out how much each college is going to cost. By May 1st, you and your child need to make a decision, put down a deposit. May 1st, they're going to school middle of August, September. That doesn't give people enough time to
Mm,
realistically go back to court and have everything in place. My advice certainly is do it as soon as possible or open up that conversation as soon as possible. Maybe even, go back to mediators early on. But if you are in a court situation that doesn't start till after March, be prepared. It may be one parent that has to lay it out, or
yeah.
take out the loans until a court case is settled.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of considerations. So, can you give us some general examples of some people that you've worked with or some types of situations that you've worked with, just so people listening can have an idea kind of the work that you do?
Here, I'll give you a drastic situation first. And trust me, they're not all this drastic. But I recently had a domestic violence situation, a divorce, domestic violence,
Mm,
police reports, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it was heartbreaking for this family. Um, but the student had already completed their freshman year at an Ivy League school,
mhm.
and I was able to help them. They were now getting school for free. Plus, they were giving the student $150 to put towards books and supplies.
Wow.
So what a huge um, financial relief for that parent and child. For it was rewarding for me. I mean, this is the work that I love to do. These there are plenty of um, extenuating circumstances. A lot of people will say, "Oh, FAFSA is easy to fill out." No, we especially going through divorce, we all have these like unique situations going on. It's not so simple. And there's always, that extenuating circumstance where, it is possible to get more than what the college has awarded.
Mm,
Um, Other situations, I've had clients who are certainly in conflict and I'm their, third party neutral. They don't speak to each other, but they speak to me.
well,
We'll never ever sit even in a Zoom room together. But yeah, they had twins. Both of them saved lots of money on the cost of college for the twins, and it worked out wonderfully. Then there's another family that I'm working with. I'm actually working with their second child now. Um, Divorced. One of the parents is remarried. They're certainly amicable enough. Everybody's able to, provide their financial information. Mind you, I keep everything confidential. I am not sharing anything
we
between
know that. Yeah. Yeah.
co-parents.
Yeah. That's very helpful to know. Yeah.
um, but again, with that, together we worked on the college list, applied for financial aid, searched for scholarships, talked about student loans and who was doing what. And yeah, that both of their kids are in fabulous schools now. They got part merit aid, they got part need-based aid, and both the kids are doing great. So
Wow.
yeah, but every situation there is, a little twist, a little
I was gonna
something.
ask, you just mentioned this, but I was gonna ask, do you help families figure out, like, where to apply to college in that way?
So Yes, sort of. There are some families that I'll work with that are the families that I work with run the gamut. Some are on Medicaid, some are high net worth. Everybody has a different situation. Um, and based on what is happening in that household, I'll I'll direct and guide them how to strategically, search for colleges, and where they're likely to get the best offers
Mm,
from for their family. So there are some families that I'm working with where the kids are going to school for absolutely free. They're living at home, so they don't have room and board costs, but they're not paying for college, which is wonderful for those families. And there are others that are higher net worth, and we're going to talk about different strategies
right.
and what to use and how to position both of the households, in some cases, um, and to reduce their costs, when it comes to them looking at the colleges reviewing the financial aid application.
Huh.
So again, everybody's situation is
Yeah, and
somewhat
I'm
unique.
curious too, like, do you ever encounter families that it's not even a financial issue, it's just that there's contention between the parents about college?
Um, yes, because sometimes, I'm making
Yeah.
up the scenario. Mom went to, an in-state university and dad went
Mhm.
to, whatever private
To
university, and they
Harvard,
only
yeah.
want the private school route, where they went, and that's their top school. And, the other parent is thinking something completely different, and then you have the child in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And I've seen that with parents. It's hard for the child. In those instances, it's certainly been best when the child is either speaking directly with me or directly with a
Right.
college advisor to help, see what they want, what's going to be best for them.
And you work with everybody across the country?
I do. So I work with people in the country going to schools, in the US. I've worked with clients out of the country who also have US citizenship and the kids want to come to school in the US.
Okay.
I've worked with people as far as Dubai,
Mm,
and their niece um, she was in Europe someplace and then she was coming back to the US. So,
wow.
you know, and just so you're aware, so everybody's aware, there are some schools even outside of the US that will accept FAFSA applications.
Oh,
So, something to consider if.
yeah. Tell us a little bit more about how you work and how people can get in touch with you.
The first thing, I offer Sunday strategy sessions, which parents can sign up anytime in high school and they're welcome to stay through high school graduation. So some parents want to start in 10th grade, some parents want to start in 11th grade, others don't think till 12th grade. It's an affordable program. We meet once a month on Sundays for strategy sessions, for Q&A. There's going to be learning about the process, timely, depending on where we are. There's also mid-monthly office hours. There's always going to be templates and checklists and things to use along the way. And then I also work privately with clients, whether somebody needs help with just a specific part of the process or they need a, full premium service package, it's all available. The work that I do, it's not just filling out a form. It's developing strategy
Yeah.
to help parents save money on the cost of college. And it's also a lot of hand holding. There are times where it's not just, how to get the colleges to cost less. A lot of the times it's negotiating between both parents
Yeah.
or, working with one parent to understand why the other parent may be acting in a certain way or not agreeing with the
Right.
parent and, discussing it through.
Vicky, before we let you go, because you're not just a divorce expert, but you are also a divorced human, I always like to ask if somebody is listening to this episode and they're considering or navigating a divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with?
Don't get swallowed up by everything going on right now. Think about the future
I
because the
love
future
that.
could be bright.
Future
Should be
could be
bright.
bright. It should be bright. I love that. I love it, Vicky. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all this info.
You're very welcome. So glad to be here today.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.